everybody, and welcome to the Smile podcast. My guest today is Jem Chua. She is the head of operations for MetaCare. So MetaCare is at the intersection of fintech, employment data, and on healthcare. It's a marketplace that promotes financial inclusion and improves access for affordable healthcare products and services. Welcome, Jem. Nice to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Jerome. I'm so excited to be here.
Great, fantastic. So I would like to start with a very general question. Can you just give us a quick intro of what your company actually does? What's the problem that you're solving?
Sure. So MetaCare is a savings app. It's an all-in-one marketplace where you can enjoy big savings on health, wellness, and lifestyle products and services. So when we were creating the product, we saw that in the Philippines specifically, there's a lot of gig economy workers, freelancers, people who do like rackets. So when we think about these people, they have sources of income, like they work, but they don't really have access to typical benefits that you get when you're employed in a normal corporation. So that's what you're trying to do. We're trying to aggregate the gig economy workers, freelancers, and we're trying to take care of these people by giving them affordable healthcare and benefits.
My mind is exploding with possible use cases that I see for this. What are you guys focusing on? You're a startup.
Right.
You were just found last year. I'm
Yes.
thinking about savings, payments. I'm thinking about all the things that are possible. What is it that you're talking about with your customers the most when you're talking about the use cases?
Right. So right now, we're really focused on basic needs. Healthcare, we're thinking about we're currently offering discounts on medicine, teleconsultation, HMO, insurance. So these things are very basic to any person who is living. But we also want to take it a step further and focus on lifestyle products or things that could help you become more productive. So one example would be co-working spaces. We have a partner right now who you can get like really affordable rates for co-working spaces. We also have classes. If you're interested in coding or upskilling yourself, we have those classes available for you as well. Down the line also, what we hope to achieve is to provide cheaper loans, since we do also recognize that people who are freelancers or gig economy workers may have a hard time getting access to loans from other traditional institutions.
Absolutely. That's one of the big pain points that we have identified early, and we help to also support the gig workers. So
Yes.
It's very close to my heart here.
Yes.
There are so many different ways of how you can approach this. You guys are a marketplace. Tell me
Correct.
about your partners, specifically in the fintech space, in the lending space. Have you launched a product already? If yes, who are you working with? And how can you help the gig workers in the Philippines for more financial inclusion?
Perfect. So yes, we're very, very happy to say that we're already available on the iOS and Apple Store. So everyone can download the MetaCare app already. It took a couple of months to get it up and running, but we're very happy with our product right now. Yes, it's a marketplace, and we already have a lot of categories that are available for our customers to purchase. So to name a few, we have consultation, laboratory, mental health, medication, vaccination, nutrition, insurance, HMO, women's health, education, and retail. So it's quite a lot, but we do hope to expand it further because we are constantly getting into talks with SMEs or communities that house a lot of freelancers, and we are getting a lot of insights on the products that they feel like they need. And what we hope to achieve is to be able to service all those needs in a very affordable and accessible way.
Super interesting. Now, I know that there is, the Philippines is one of the biggest, gig worker, especially
Yes.
white collar gig worker industries in the world, if not the biggest, probably only second to India.
Yes.
And Very, very interesting is, how do you get access to the gig workers? What's your strategy? Do you partner or do you acquire them yourself? How do they get to the MetaCare platform?
So right now, what we've been doing is having a lot of partnerships. So we get in touch with communities that hold a lot of freelancers. So for example, we're also somewhat affiliated with the Web3 space in the Philippines. So we've gotten into calls with guilds. So these are communities or like groups that house like players who are interested in the play to earn model. This is coming from like the Axie Infinity era that was very, very
A
hot
whole
during the
different
pandemic,
topic.
right?
I want to
Yes,
dive.
whole
I
different
want to dive
topic.
into Web3
Yes.
in just a bit. That's so interesting. Yeah.
Yes, but aside from that, we also have a community of like artists who do art for like NFTs. And we also are in a lot of like groups, Filipino home-based moms, artists, social media marketing workers. So we recognize there's a lot of like communities that we can tap into, and we feel that getting into partnerships with them would be a great way for us to really go into the gig workers, because gig workers are hard to find because we're so fragmented everywhere. But we do think that it's a great place to start.
Now, there are these huge platforms, right? Starting with Upwork, Freelancer, Fiverr. Are you working with any of those? Do you see an angle for a cooperation with them?
So right now, we actually haven't gotten into touch with them because we're focusing on, I guess, the immediate connections that we have, again, in the Web3 space. But definitely, we would love to like get into a conversation with them just because they do hold like the biggest groups of freelancers, definitely.
So if you're a CEO of one of these three and you listen to the podcast, here we go.
Please reach out.
Please reach out to MetaCare. Now, I want to shift gears a little bit and ask a little bit about what you said earlier. Web3, obviously there's a community, there's a play to earn model. Maybe tell me a little bit about, because it's not so intuitive to combine the two with each other. And so what I would like to understand is, how does the Web3 component come into the business model, and what does it actually make an impact compared to traditional healthcare providers?
Okay, so I guess I can start by sharing how the idea of MetaCare came to be. Our company is very involved in Web3, like starting from the gaming, Axie Infinity and the like. We are actually like sister companies with like YGG, or like we're very affiliated with them. So we understand how this movement came to be. And when it was very hot in the Philippines, we thought about, hey, this could actually be a source of income for people in the long run, like playing games and you get paid. That's a perfect deal for a lot of people. But when you think about the benefits that they don't have that. So that's where the idea of MetaCare actually came from. And then from there, we kind of, we dug a little bit deeper into the problem, and we saw that it's not just the play to earn model, it's also freelancers and gig economy workers. So this could actually be a very like viable business, since benefits and healthcare will always be a universal need. We just have to find a way to aggregate all these people and service them. So that's really what we're trying to achieve. Right now, for MetaCare, if you download the app, it really looks like a typical marketplace. You don't see any, I'm an NFT, we need your tokens. It doesn't scream Web3 just yet, because we want to focus on taking care of our customers first. And we believe that you can do that without the Web3 component, but the Web3 component will come in later on. So to share, we actually have a partnership with Globe right now, where you can get, if you have Globe Rewards points, you can convert them to MetaCare vouchers and you get a free NFT. Right now, the NFT is a digital asset, so it's just a really cute NFT that you can have. But in the future, what we hope to do is to provide unique benefits or unique freebies depending on the partnership that we have. So for example, for Globe, we call it the Globe Cares NFT. So in the future, what we hope to do is, let's say, give a free MD consultation for every holder, or a free like 1 gig data for those holders. So specific partnerships will have specific benefits, and that's what we also plan to do in the future. So when we roll out the tokens, when we roll out the NFTs, what we really hope to achieve is, pure ownership of your asset. So if you think about the current memberships that you have, it's something that you have to keep renewing, replenishing. But with MetaCare, it's an asset that you'll hold forever, and it can also appreciate in value. And at the same time, since we do intend on becoming like a DAO in the future, this is very, very down the line. But if you're a holder of our token, you're also an owner of the business. Like, you have a stake in the business because you're a part owner via the token. So that way, you enjoy the benefits, but also you will enjoy in the rewards of like how the business is doing. If we're doing well, you'll get additional perks and benefits. So it's really about giving more value to the end user and giving them like ownership of their membership as a MetaCare member and also as a stakeholder in the company.
I understand. Okay, so just for the listeners that are, I would assume 90% of the listeners here understand Web3 and what a DAO is, but a decentralized organization is essentially, in your part, if I understand it correct, like a co-op almost, right? Where you buy a share and you're part of it, and then you can reap the benefits from this organization. Is that a correct assumption? Is that?
I think that's a really great way to put it in a non-Web3 way, but basically correct. Like, if you're a part of the DAO, if you hold the tokens, you will have a say in how the company goes. You will also reap the benefits of like the profits or the revenue share, or like the benefits that you get as a token holder.
And those would then also be associated with healthcare benefits, or is that a different?
Correct.
Is that a different? Oh, that's an interesting one. So if I buy the token today as a gig worker or as a play to earn, worker, I would be eligible for these healthcare benefits. That's very interesting.
So the way that we want to really integrate the tokens would be through the membership access. So right now, if you download the app and you're a MetaCare user, right now you get all the discounts without a need for a membership. But soon we will be launching the paid membership. So you'll have to subscribe to get discounts that you want to enjoy. Down the line, when we launch your tokens, we'll be giving you some tokens also. So that would also give you ownership over like MetaCare, and you can use those tokens to either purchase more memberships or extend your memberships, or you could use it to transact also.
Oh, I got it. Okay, so it's kind of like a reward
Yes,
token as well. Okay,
correct,
I totally get it. It's interesting. So the very core of what I wanted to get to of care or insurance. So previously we had a bunch of other podcast guests here on the podcast already, but one that really comes to mind is Gani from Quick Insure. And an interesting way of essentially looking at insurances, or especially insure tech, is the distribution channel. And the first thing that comes to mind really is your user. Now, you're already summarized as essentially as workers that are, if I interpret this correctly, sitting in front of a screen, right? So whether you're a white collar worker who works as an assistant, a translator, or an analyst, or perhaps a gamer, what are typical needs that they have when we're looking at this ideal customer profile? How can you summarize this person? How many are there in the Philippines? How big? So that's a dumb question, but what characterizes them? What's the best way to summarize them? And what are they?
Right. So when we get into a lot of these calls, it's very interesting to see that one of the products that they really look for would be mental health. So probably years ago, that would be like a surprising thing. Like, people don't like to talk about mental health. But I'm very happy to notice now that a lot of like CEOs and um, HR representatives that we get into calls with, they recognize that it's an issue and they want to be part of the solution. So that was like a wonderful like revelation to me. So that's definitely one. Um, Freelancers, I do think that, with I guess the uncertainty or like the risk that they have to live with the kind of work that they do can cause a lot of mental stress also. So it's good to have those products readily available to them. Aside from that, I think the second thing that people usually look for would be HMO. When people consider like maybe the shift from working in a traditional corporation versus doing like a freelance gig or being your own businessman, that's the one thing that you really think about. Like, what about my healthcare? What about my HMO? So that's definitely another one that they would need. And also, we've been noticing a lot of transactions in terms of like medicine. So, like vitamins, supplements, maintenance medicine as well. So, very basic needs that these people are always looking for like good deals on. So, I think those are the three things that the freelancer persona would really need.
That's very interesting. You just mentioned on the side HR representative. So from that, I'm sensing that your
Sorry, yes.
go-to-market is
Talking
one on
about
one
like
side the gig
SMEs also.
workers.
Yes,
Yeah, and then
correct.
you're
Yes,
and then
yes,
you're
yes.
serving businesses as well, which is
Yes,
amazing. Can
yes,
you tell us a
yes,
little
yes.
bit more about the motion there?
Yeah, so um we get into a lot of conversations with startup owners because I think the insight there is if you're a small business, you don't really have the budget for expensive HMO. Like it can be very, very costly, like up to maybe 15 to 20,000 annually per employee. So that's a lot. And they also mentioned that even if they spend that much, the employees don't really get to exhaust that amount. Like they don't really use it to the fullest potential. So products like MetaCare are very interesting to them because with MetaCare, we're a marketplace. So there's a lot of flexibility in terms of what your needs are. So example, I might be somebody who's very interested in like women's health, workout classes. You might be interested in co-working spaces, teleconsultation. So each person will have different needs, and our hope is to be able to service all of those needs. Now, on the perspective of like small business owners, you could only pay for the things that they use, or you could provide a certain budget or reimburse them at a certain amount. But that way, you only pay for what is needed, you only pay for what is used. So, one of the things that we have definitely lined up in the next couple of months would be to launch a corporate app. So, this would be specific to small business owners that they could use to really curate and like create flexible plans and healthcare for their employees.
Amazing. So all the startup owners that are listening to this, be in touch with Gem.
Yes, please.
How you make sure that you can retain your talent.
Yeah.
Maybe we just switch on to the question of the savings product you mentioned, because this is kind of like getting into payments, banking, more fintech related space. Can you tell us a little bit what's the vision, or what do you perhaps already have, or where do you work with partners?
Yeah, so right now, if you get on the app, you can already enjoy up to 40% discount on our products and services. So that would be across the categories that I mentioned earlier. Our dream is to really, be able to provide even bigger discounts as we grow our user base.
I have to interrupt you here. Discounts on what is the service first? I have to understand what is it that you offer there in terms of fintech?
Right.
What is it? Yeah.
So not necessarily on fintech, more on the health benefits. So consultation, labs, mental health, medication, vaccination. Um, right now, we don't have any loan providers, but that is something that we're working on. So hopefully, we can provide like really good rates for gig economy workers and give them like a very easy way to apply for these loans without going through like, the traditional typical financial institutions.
Fantastic. I would assume that this is a huge market, especially in the Philippines, where there's the need. So what we have identified is that really early in the game, there are a lot of gig workers that don't have access to financial services.
Yes.
Have you conducted any, research? Have you been? I would assume you have been talking to a lot of gig workers yourself. What are, apart from healthcare, of the other peripheral services, what are the most needed features that they come up with?
Yeah, so loans would come up a lot also. Like when we got into these conversations, especially with like the play to earn players, like they were having such a hard time with loans. So I think that's one of the things that they would really want. Another thing that was brought up would be load actually. So internet providers and all, since a lot of freelancers would rely on data to do their work. So it's a lot of the things that also enable them to do the work they need to do, and any form of savings that they could benefit from is something very welcome to them.
Yeah, very interesting. So I was just thinking about perhaps when we're talking about the play to earn model and loans are needed, and I could imagine that some of those loans were also going into purchasing NFTs to be able to participate in the game. How was the collapse, for lack of a better word, in the play to earn model affecting your business? Because at the beginning or during the past year, this was actually quite a showdown that we were seeing there. And can you tell us a little bit, how was the time when this happened? And it must have been devastating for a lot of your customers. And how did MetaCare handle the situation?
Yeah, definitely. Well, when the collapse happened, I think it was all very difficult for us. And we really just tried to support each other in the ways that we can. When we talked to these guild owners, like the people managing these guilds, at the end of the day, they were still looking for ways to support the people who were working under them. So whether that's finding them other jobs or helping them through products like MetaCare, introducing them to products like MetaCare so that they could get more affordable sources for healthcare. That's something that we try to do. In terms of our business, I think that's also why we tried to reach out not just to people in the Web3 space, but also like startup founders, SMEs, freelance communities. Because at the end of the day, these are still Filipinos who are looking for ways to get savings, to get affordable healthcare. So we just kind of shifted our go-to-market from like the Web3 community, but to like the startup industry in the Philippines. But until now, we still get into a lot of these talks with Web3 players, like especially those who are like artists who are very much also passionate about healthcare and mental health. So we're always looking for ways to collaborate with them, whether that's just a simple info session that we would do just to introduce the product, or giving them discounted vouchers to help them with their first purchase. That's something that we've been doing also, both on the Web3 and like the startup spaces.
Very interesting. And so, yeah, this is how you can see that outside environment is influencing your business, and ability to quickly pivot and
Yes.
switch to the market is one of the things that every founder has to be familiar with in order to make the startup survive. So that's an interesting story here. Maybe quite a similar one is the the gradual shifting out of the pandemic. How do you experience the shift in demand for services that are related to healthcare that perhaps have been a little bit more emphasized on vaccination and all sorts of pandemic-related services towards the future? Where do you see the future market now that you're shifting a little bit also into SMEs and startups?
Correct. So I guess that's why we really wanted to have a huge assortment of products. We're not just focused on health, even if the company's name is MetaCare, and the first thing that you probably think of is like, medicine, insurance, HMO. But, we also have like retail products, like co-working spaces, these classes also. And I guess one of the things that we're also trying to educate our users on would be investing in like your own healthcare, so that if another pandemic happens, or if there's another big health scare that would happen, it would be better to be prepared rather than having to deal with the consequences after of like, oh, I have to be hospitalized and I don't have money. But if you have healthcare, you can prevent those issues and secure yourself in that way. So right now we also, like, especially after the pandemic, I do think that people are a little bit more open to spending on insurance, HMO, because they've already seen how it could really impact your savings. Like one trip to the hospital could cost so much. So that's one thing that we are still constantly trying to educate our users on, just so that we can really protect them from going through issues and problems like this in the future.
Have you got any interesting success use cases that you can share with us? Any particular customer where you had the aha moment, where you get up in the morning and you say like, oh, it's all worth for it when I think of this particular customer and what we have done for them?
So unfortunately, we don't have any yet, but we have been getting a lot of great feedback from our customers. Nothing majorly life-changing, but for me, like those small wins also are so important. Like we've been getting a lot of great feedback about how easy the app is to use. In terms of like the fulfillment also, like it's been very reliable. And we have a very dedicated customer support team, so we've also been like getting a lot of like feedback, just so that we can further improve our product. But so far, nothing majorly life-changing yet. Hopefully that could happen real soon.
Interesting. Thinking about probably a little bit zooming out and looking at regulation, because we know that healthcare is a highly regulated space. There's a lot of institutions, especially in the Philippines, that are also overseeing insurance and insurance regulation. What are perhaps some of the obstacles that you see in the space, and how could policymakers positively influence your future outlook?
Yeah, well, for MetaCare specifically, since we are an aggregator, we don't really have to deal so much with the licenses and the like. So we have our partners to think about that, since they do all of the fulfillment. So we've been very lucky to work with partners who have been in the space for a really long time and are familiar with how to operate also in the online space. So that's why we also prioritize getting like the bigger names, the known brands, so we don't have to worry so much on the fulfillment end. And for our customers, like that could also lessen that whole process of deciding, okay, who should I get this from? Because we're already getting the best of the best in the Philippines.
Amazing. I want to talk also a little bit about information security, because this is a topic that is gradually becoming more and more important. It's also highly regulated, and this personal information. There's the Data Protection Act in the Philippines, etc. What do you guys do in order to make sure that your end users' information is kept safe, and how do you convince your customers if they have any doubts about this, as you being a startup? and handling this very highly personal and sensitive information?
Right. So, we try to be as careful as possible, especially with like health data. So right now, we do have like a data privacy officer. We also work very like closely with our partners to make sure that, you know, the reports are being sent in a very like confidential way. So those are the little things that we've been doing. Right now, although this is something that we haven't explored, but there's also a possibility of, you know, storing the information on the blockchain since we are also on web3. But that's definitely something that we'll consider maybe very down the line, because right now we're more focused on keeping the web3 aspect or the blockchain aspect more on the access to the product and not necessarily on the data. But definitely that's something that we could explore, especially since it's health data, right? And it might be also useful for our users to use MetaCare as, let's say, the one app that they use that could store all of their like health information. And since all of the partners that they or all of the merchants or providers that they work with are already there, then they could just have that one database stored on MetaCare, and that database could be accessed by the partners if necessary. So that's something that we haven't really fully explored yet, but it could also be like something that we look into in the future.
Fascinating. The whole idea about permissioned access over the blockchain is really just so fascinating because it's really enabling. I love the idea. But again, I want to shift gears a little bit and ask you about how does a typical day look like for Gem when you get up? Do you first check your emails and then get back to your customers, or what is the process of getting the job done during a day?
Yeah, so right now, a lot of what I'm doing is really marketing. So we've spent a lot of months like getting the product perfect, and now that it's out there, we just gotta let everyone know about it. So it's working on a lot of social media campaigns, email marketing. It's also getting into like podcasts like this, working on, you know, other features just to get the word out. And also we've been getting into a lot of calls with partners. So that's actually like probably my favorite thing about my job. Getting into calls with other businesses, communities, understanding what they need, and getting real insights so that we could really create like the best MetaCare possible to serve all these people. So yeah, it's been great like getting to know a lot of people in different like spaces, like again, web 2, web 3, some are like e-commerce, some are telcos, some are banks. So it's a lot of people, and like what's really amazing is at the end of the day, again, healthcare and benefits, it's a universal need. Like no matter what industry you work in, these are things that matter to people. And yeah, it's been really exciting and really fun.
Great. So for every go-to-market motion, and we discussed it a little bit, that your shift was a little bit from Web3 or play to earn more towards the startups. Can you perhaps describe a little bit your go-to-market strategy in terms of who exactly are the people within a startup company that you're targeting? Is it more HR? Is it directly the C-suite? And how do you communicate? What is it that you communicate to those people? And what are the channels that they use?
Yeah, it's actually like a mix. Like we sometimes it is C-suite, sometimes it's HR, but like the messaging is always the same. You know, we want to give more benefits to your community or your employees, depending on who we're talking to. And we just want to share what MetaCare could do to improve people's lives. So we never say that we can replace HMO. Like we're not here to replace any HMO, but we are an additional product that you could add to like a compensation plan for your employees. since it is quite affordable when we do launch our memberships, our plan is to have a monthly fee of like 79 pesos or like an annual fee of 588 pesos. So it's very affordable.
Wow.
And right now, since we do have a special like promo until the end of April, where as long as you download the app, you can enjoy the premium prices without paying for anything. For us, it's really like if you want us to get on a separate like info session with your team, let us know. We just really want to share more about our product and let them know that it's something that they can really like take advantage of while it's free. Since you know it's automatic savings for anyone who decides to purchase on MetaCare. So yeah, and a lot of them get really excited because on like a business POV, like they have no cost yet. And it's a great way for them to really get feedback from their employees now. Like, okay, MetaCare is here, download the app, check it out. And then if they decide that, oh, like this is something that we want to include in our plans for our employees, then at least they test it out first before they actually purchase the memberships. So yeah, that's what we've been doing the past few months also, just really talking to people, sharing what we do, um, making them try the product, answering all their questions on how to use it, just so that there are no blockers for them to make any like purchase.
Interesting. And where do they hang out? Kind of like the question is also about the channel, right? So you mentioned social media. What has been specifically successful in your go-to-market motion? How do you address them? How do you find them? The hangouts.
Yeah, so actually like it's a lot of like Zoom calls. It's a lot of online discussions with them. So we really feel like when it comes to like products like MetaCare, it has to have like a personal touch. Like we need to understand what your needs are so we can tell you what products might suit your needs. So it's a lot of conversations, it's a lot of face-to-face, well, face-to-face via like your laptop. But yeah, like we've been getting into a lot of conversations and I feel like that's the easiest way for them to understand the product. Right now, also, we do a lot of like email marketing. So it's a lot of like introducing what products we have, what merchants we have on board, what categories we have. Also educating people like why do you need to like invest in HMO? It's so expensive, or like why do I need insurance? So um it's like this whole journey of like education and like getting into talks and like one-on-one conversations with these people.
Interesting. And you already just mentioned it a little bit on the side in terms of price, but I would also like to understand, is it more like a SaaS that one representative from the firm can subscribe to and then invite more of their colleagues and charge by seats, or what is the business model? How do you make money and how do you charge?
Yeah, so right now we just have the consumer app, which is already available on Android and iOS. So you can just download it, create an account, and then you already get the discounts for free until end of April. So what we plan to do is to have the memberships available for purchase on the app also. So as mentioned earlier, it's gonna be like a monthly fee of 79 pesos or an annual fee of 588. So this is more on like the B2C side. The corporate app or the B2B side is something that we're still working on. But what we plan to do is to, of course, give like discounted rates for the memberships if you buy in bulk, and also like having like a sort of platform where like an HR representative could assign seats correct, like to certain employees who, let's say, who are regularized already and who can get like the benefits. And then if they do want to let's say have some sort of wallet or like credits given to them, that's also something that we are looking into, because when we get into these calls, they're like, oh, it would be great if our employees would have credits already that they could use. So the corporate app is still something that we're working on and we're getting more insights on before we actually build it. So right now it's really more on the consumer app, which is already available, and just letting them know that, okay, the product is available, download it. If you're interested in it, you can get the discounts for free.
Very interesting. Great. And perhaps, because I see our time is running out, but perhaps the last question that I would like to ask you is, the founder story a little bit. How did you come to the company, and how did the founders come up with the idea? It's usually a question that you ask at the perhaps a little bit more towards the beginning, but I think it's also from a philosophy and cultural point of view quite interesting and a good question to close with.
Yeah, so the idea of MetaCare actually came from, well, sorry, just to backtrack. MetaCare was actually incubated by Eden Ventures. So Eden Ventures is a venture building company in the Philippines, focused on Web2 and Web3 products. So as mentioned, we were very heavily involved in like the play to earn games, NFTs, crypto. So that's how the idea really came to be. And when they decided to really spin off MetaCare to its own company, they got our CEO. So his name's Varun. He's amazing. He has a lot of experience in the healthcare space, and he's also very into Web3. So it was like a perfect match. He's actually based in Singapore, while the rest of the team is based in the Philippines. But he's been amazing also. The local team actually, so I was from Eden Ventures, and then they moved me fully to MetaCare since I was handling an online pharmacy business under Eden. So for them, it only made sense for me to help operate the business since I had a background in healthcare. I also had a background in e-commerce, and for MetaCare, it's also like an e-commerce model right now since we are a marketplace. And yeah, we started to build a team by getting a lot of like referrals from people. We got a lot of people who are also in like the startup space. So we have like ex Shopee, ex Lazada, ex Edamama, ex Beauty M&L. So a lot of like startup alums who understand how to like build a product from the ground up. So that's how like the team started, and yeah.
Sounds like an amazing journey and a great team. Jem, thank you so much for being a guest today on the Smile podcast.
Thank you so
love
much.
to have you back sometime, and have a nice day.
Thank you so much.